Welcome back to a brand new episode of the Jordan Davis Podcast. I am your host, Jordan Davis, and for today's episode, we have some major things to talk about between Star Wars and Spider-Man coming back into the MCU. So many big things that happened last week that we really need to talk about in this episode, and I really want to dive deep into. So let's get started. And I think the first thing I want to get into is the Empire magazine that promoting the Rise of Skywalker. And what did they show us? They show us Rey and Ben side by side. Now that's some major Reylo vibes already they are showing in this marketing. And I gotta tell you, they're not even shying away for it that their relationship is the central part of this trilogy. And I love that they're really focusing in on the relationship. I really am. And some things came out of the magazine in some interviews, and we're still supposed to get more towards this week, which I'll cover all of it uh, next week. But a few things came out today and even yesterday about some little tidbits that we could expect from this movie. And I think there's a couple of little tidbits that really caught my eye. And I think the first one actually was the Chris Terrio one. And he said that Ray, Ben slash Kylo Ren's relationship, they're really going deep into how complicated it is and how it left in The Last Jedi and how deeper they're going to go with it. And when I think about that, it's like, oh, that's awesome. I love that they're really going into that complicated relationship that will they or won't they kind of thing. Like, because obviously they're hinting of them being romantic. They're hinting of them, being balanced and coming together. It's just some things are making that complicated. And the one thing that really caught my eye is what he said about what Ray does to Ben. It kind of feels like a nakedness that he shows towards her, like a raw, everything out in the open kind of thing. And I love that. And I love how they're going to get deeper into that. I don't know how they're going to do it, but just to hear that they're going to go deeper into it, I am so excited that we're going to get that because I think we were all worried, what is JJ going to do? What is JJ going to do with this relationship? And I have to be honest, I really wasn't that confident in Chris Terrio. Yeah, he was a Oscar-winning writer for Argo, but he also made Batman v Superman. So I wasn't really sure how he would perform. I don't know how he would write this story, how he would write this saga to an end. Yes, I know he's a co-writer, but still, I was still kind of uncertain. But everything that I'm hearing from what he said about how they're going deeper into the relationship that really Ryan Johnson did in The Last Jedi, and like they're gonna go deeper into that. I mean, that's just a wonderful thing to really get excited for as a fan of the relationship of Rey and Ben. It really is. And along with that, they put out some new images of the Knights of Ren, as I talked about last week about what the role of the Knights of Ren could be. You can check that out in my last podcast episode. But I think it was really interesting. They showed a another image, a pretty clean image of Kylo Ren with no mask, and like he's covered like in blue light. Stormtroopers being blown away, and he's holding the mask like a basketball in his hand. First of all, how giant is Driver's hands? I mean, God, he's holding like that mask like a basketball. I mean, that's I know that's weird to notice that, but man, that's interesting. Now, people were speculating, oh, could it be uh, the Falcon's blue light that is escaping, that is covering him? But it doesn't look like he's on his First Order Star Destroyer or something like that. So it could be anything. It could be Palpatine revealing himself to Kylo Ren. It could be anything. But it should be interesting why he took off his mask. And I also think that kind of squashes the theory of there being an imposter wearing the mask. I never really felt that at all. I think that would just be weird because they also said today, this was actually new information about today, that J.J. Abrams wanted him to wear the mask. It's a representation of how broken he is, and how broken Kylo Ren is, and how fragile his state is. And for me, hearing that coming out of J.J. Abrams, that just tells me we're just getting so much closer to redemption. We're getting so much closer to his redemption. Um, and I'm so excited for that. I really am. And along with getting some great covers and all that, and I'm just so excited what else it's going to be revealed by Empire Magazine, because there was also some news about the new uh, Rise of the Resistance. I think that's what it's called, book. I think this takes after The Last Jedi, and Rey and Leia were talking about Ben, talking about wanting him to come back to the Resistance. Rey cared for him so much. And I think the one line that really got me like, oh, okay, they are really going there. They want you to make sure will get redeemed. I think the one sentence was like, he has made some bad choices. The only person that can save Ben is Ben. And I think everyone that's been rooting for Ben Solo's redemption, including myself, we've been saying that all along. He needs to earn his redemption. No one's gonna help him. No one's gonna drag him by his feet, by his hair, or whatever, to make him be redeemed. He has to make the choice. He has to realize the bad choices that he's making. Only he can realize that. Only he can come to a conclusion that he needs to start making better decisions by his actions. And I love that one line. It really sums up and puts everything into a nutshell of what we've been saying about his redemption. He needs to earn it. No one's going to give it to him. He needs to earn it by the choices he makes into this movie. Because that really comes down to what Daisy Ridley said. Will apology be enough? Or will it be shown by his action? And that's another thing that is so comparable to Pride and Prejudice. Mr. Darcy had to show by his actions that he is a good man, that he has changed. His heart has changed by his action, by by what he's been doing. So I think that's just a really cool thing that they're showing with the cracked mask, um, really promoting Ray and Ben as this complicated relationship, and how it all comes back to that interrogation scene in the Force Awakens. It always comes back to that scene for writers, creators, whoever worked on with this sequel trilogy. It always comes back to that scene because there's always a scene in every trilogy that really gets people so interested in some kind of story in movies. So I think the interrogation scene is that. You ask anyone, it's the interrogation scene. It's something that it's just so amazingly done what JJ did in that scene and what he set up, and I can't wait for him to resolve that because we all we all know, if you're new to this channel, welcome. But if you're not new, you all know my opinion. I believe Ben is going to be redeemed, and I believe Ray and Ben will get together. I think they're really going to go into that romance, and they're really going to finish that arc of them being the balance of the Force. Both of them being bathed in dark and light. they are the same coin. I think they're really going to prove it in The Rise of Skywalker. I really do. And it should be a very interesting way how they get there. Because there's been leaks, there's been rumors. I'm just not going to pay attention to those because this is what I was expecting. So I'm going to pay attention to the official things that Lucasfilm is giving us until some so-called leaks and so-called plot descriptions of what we can't expect. Because I truly believe there are some things that we're gonna get that are gonna be awesome, and that they haven't even revealed yet. And I do believe that when we get the official trailer, I think we're really gonna be able to get a really good understanding where we're going in this story and how they're gonna end the saga. And so that should be very cool. I'm so excited for this. I'm so excited what else Empire magazine tidbits they're going to reveal about the movie because everything they're revealing is everything I've been hoping for, especially with Redemption, Ben Solo's redemption, Reylo, and everything in between. I'm just so excited, and there's some great things that are going to come for the Rise of Skywalker, and I'm very excited for it. So now, that wasn't only the big Star Wars news that came out. Last week, there was a report that the master of the MCU, Kevin Feige, is developing a Star Wars movie. So I was totally shocked. Kevin Feige, the leader of the MCU, is developing a Star Wars movie? And I'm going to tell you, my first reaction was, wow, that's totally unexpected. But I'm going to tell you this. I'm not sure I want him in Star Wars. I'm not sure because I really like what Kathleen Kennedy is doing, especially with the sequel trilogy and how they did all of these characters, how they did Rey. Eventually, I came and like Rey, and that's one things I like about the Last Jedi is that what Ryan Johnson and Kathleen Kennedy kind of really helped make Rey more complex person because I didn't feel that in The Force Awakens. I didn't. I'm gonna be honest with you. I just didn't feel that. But what Ryan did with The Last Jedi really helped me to really like Rey and really get excited to see her more in The Rise of Skywalker. So, but back to Kevin Feige. I just don't know if we would have gotten that if he was the producer of these sequel trilogy movies. Because I think if you watch the Marvel movies, they're pretty simple. They're pretty simple for you to understand. They're pretty, you know, big blockbuster, big superhero stuff. I mean, that's nice. I love Kevin Feige. I love the Marvel movies. I love what he's done with Spider-Man in the MCU. I love what he's done with the Avengers. I love most of the things that he's done in the MCU. But I think that should stay in the MCU. I don't think he should carry that kind of style into Star Wars because Star Wars is such a mythological and deeper thing, which Star Wars is. And I know he's a big fan of Star Wars. He loves Star Wars. He's a big fan of it. I just don't know what style of storytelling he would put in Star Wars, that he would introduce into Star Wars. Because I really truly don't get why people hate Kathleen Kennedy. Maybe because she's a female. I think that's totally wrong. I think she tells great stories. She is a fantastic producer. She's been behind one of pop culture's greatest movies. She's been behind Back to the Future. That's one of the greatest movies ever told. So she's a fantastic producer. She has produced many of the sequel trilogy's great movies. I mean, she was the one that picked out Adam Driver. He didn't even audition. He didn't need to audition. Kathleen Kennedy handpicked him to be Kylo Ren, Ben Solo, as we do now. And and she's a genius for picking him. And I stand behind her 100%. And I do not want her to leave Star Wars. I think she's done a fantastic job. But Kevin Feige in the MCU, I think it would be very interesting what the storytelling would show, what would the style be, and trying to think of what kind of movie would Kevin Feige want to produce, to be honest. Is it gonna be a anthology movie? Is it gonna be a totally different trilogy? Is he gonna produce the Ryan Johnson trilogy? Is he gonna produce the trilogy that's being, head run by the Game of Thrones producers and showrunners? So we don't know. It should be very interesting what they'll do, because they can just do totally different. They don't have to do a trilogy. Maybe it's just one single movie. Maybe it's a Ahsoka movie. I know a lot of people wanted to see Ahsoka in live action, and I do as well. I really began to like her in the Rebels TV show, and so I wanted to see her on the big screen. So I'm very interested to see what Kevin Feige does in Star Wars. I may have my concerns about him, but I think there's going to be some interesting things of what he may and may not do. And I'm going to be open minded about it. I really am. And see where they're going to go with this. And I think that's all we can do. We can be patient. Because I think whenever they reveal their plans, it's going to be after the Skywalker saga. I think they're going to have like a big event, like a Star Wars celebration. They're going to announce what's the future for Star Wars? What's the next trilogy? What's the Ryan Johnson trilogy? Will they do Knights of the Old Republic? So many things that are speculated, and I think we just have to wait. And but I trust in Kathleen Kennedy. I trust in Lucasfilm that they're going to be delivering great Star Wars movies after Lucasfilm, and so we're going to have to see what happens. And so I think we just have to wait and see. So I think that's all I have to say on the Star Wars news. Now, let's get into the Spider-Man news. Now, if you're not aware, a couple of days ago, last week, was announced that Sony and Disney came back to the came back to the dealing table and came up with a deal to bring Spider-Man back into the MCU for a couple of movies. Now, they're going to continue the story of Spider-Man into Spider-Man 3, and then he's going to make his appearance in a non-Spider-Man movie. So to me, when when I thought about that, I thought about whenever the next Avengers movie is going to be. I think he's going to be in that because you're just not going to put in someone else's movie. If you're going to put Spider-Man in a non-Spider-Man movie in the MCU, it's going to be like some big movie, not just someone's solo movie, because that would kind of take the focus off that person in the solo movie. So I think he's going to be in an Avengers movie. I really do. Whenever that next Avengers movie is. So yeah, that should be interesting. So so it said exactly in the article that Spider-Man will be in the MCU, but Spider-Man as well will be in Sony's universe. So he's going to be hopping back and forth into different universes. And that looks very interesting to me that he's going to do that. Because no superhero has been in both universes, cinematic universes. And when I was reading that, I was like, whoa. My mind starts turning and it's like, are they going to do Spider Verse? Are they going to actually give a Spider Verse, a live action Spider Verse? Kind of like what we got in the animation movie of Spider Man Into the Spider Verse. Could we be getting that? Because I think that could be very interesting if we get that. Because that's something we've never seen before. And that's something I would be very excited for. To see him interacting with all his other characters in his other universe, and also we could get him in the MCU as well. I mean, that's the perfect deal. Everyone gets Spider-Man. If you like Spider-Man in the MCU, you get that kind of Spider-Man. If you don't like Spider-Man in the MCU, you could get Spider-Man interacting with Venom and all those other characters. So I think that should really be cool, and makes me really excited because I wasn't really sure what the future was for Spider-Man going forward after the whole deal blew up between Disney and Sony a couple of days ago. Now the whole financial thing is that Disney's gonna get 25% of the box office, and they're also going to put up 25% on the money. So, and that's really only Disney ever wanted. They just wanted a raise of producing these movies because Far From Home made over $1 billion. It really did. It made that money. It was a great movie, which I thought it was a great movie, and they needed to finish that story and living on a cliffhanger. They couldn't do that. It would be so unsatisfying. So they had to do it. And I'm just really excited that they are doing that. And I want to see what they're going to do in this Sony universe with now that they can officially use Spider-Man. They officially use Tom Holland Spider-Man. And what are the stories we're going to see moving forward in him in the MCU? He's going to I believe he's going to be that big star for the MCU. He's going to be the leader of the MCU, being the next Iron Man. And I think that's what they were setting up in Far From Home for him being the new Spider-Man. Not new Spider-Man, the new Iron Man, sorry. And I'm really excited of what we're going to get. I really am. I really am excited. Because I'm a big Spider-Man fan and I just love how Kevin Feige and the rest of the MCU treated that character. And I can't wait for the stories they're going to tell, not just in Sony, but in the MCU. So, to be honest, I'm just really excited of what everything is going on with Star Wars, Spider-Man, and we just have to wait for DC to get their act together. They're starting to every with all the movies we've seen lately, but every, everything's going good. There's so many reasons to be excited for Star Wars with the Skywalker saga and Rey and Kylo Ren and how their relationship is going to resolve. That's one thing to be excited about. And Spider-Man being in the MCU again. And also maybe giving us a Spider-Verse kind of movie. So I think there's a lot of things to be excited about in movies right now, and I cannot wait to see what happens. So I think that's going to be the end of this week's episode of the Jordan Davis podcast. I want to thank you for listening, and I like to thank you for liking this episode, subscribe, and everything that you can do sh- to share my podcast and get more viewers. I would really appreciate it. So I would thank you for that. But so I want thank you listening, and until next time, I hope you have a great and fantastic week. So until the next episode, I'll see you soon. Bye.